Hi, welcome. I'm Chaotic Nature Cosplay, and you found your way to my Vash Wig tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how I styled my Grape Soda or Goth Vash wig. So, probably by the time I get around to posting this, there's already going to be a great option for a two-tone lace front wig. But at the time I made this, there wasn't really anything, so I'm going to kind of walk through the splicing I did of two different wigs, and then how I spiked and styled everything. So hopefully you can watch this video and get an idea of how to style your own Vash. So first off, I would like to start by showing the two different wigs I got for this Vash, and we're going to start with the lace front. This is just a blonde lace front that I've gotten off Amazon a couple of times. I've used it for my Edward Elric, I've used it for my legless. I particularly like the way the lace front on this, the hairline on this wig sits on me, so I decided to use it for Vash. I will be filling in that front, just ventilating a little bit of the top where my fingers are right now, and I will show you that step when I get there. But if you're going to get a wig off Amazon, just make sure you check the reviews. This is the inside of that blonde wig, the wig cap. You're going to be seeing a lot more of this as I start splicing the two of them together. This is the second wig I got. This is a Kyle in Spanish Brown from Arta Wigs. I've worked with a lot of Kyles over the years because it's one of the only undercut wigs available. I personally struggle with it quite a bit because the undercut is very low, especially for Vash, so I'm going to be taking a bunch of wefts out and making the undercut higher when I splice the wigs together. So I started with sectioning off the hair because I'm going to be cutting this wig apart. So you can see I have the top section, which will be replaced with the blonde, and then I have the bottom section. And right here, I kind of am going to show you the line that I'm going to be cutting. Maybe. It's going to be kind of right along the inside of the wig. We're going to get rid of this I don't know, what do you call that? The top section of the wig, and replace that with the blonde. So here, I've cut it apart. You can see I have my bottom section, which does have some longer hairs that are going to need to be trimmed and taken care of, so I'll be dealing with that next. But that's going to be the part that I actually use for Vash. And then I have my little top piece over here, which is just a toupee thing. I'm going to be using this as kind of the pattern so I know what of the blonde wig to cut out. So in order to trace that top of the brown wig onto the blonde one, I put both of them upside down on top of each other in a styrofoam head, and that piece is done now, so that's just going to go over my pile. And then I like to use a crayon and just kind of trace the top of the one cap that I'm going to be cutting out onto the other wig. So that's going to be the area I'm cutting. And then here I'm about halfway through cutting the wig apart. It is a little bit weird to cut through kind of the fabric cap, but you can see following my line I'm going to be cutting through several wefts. So what I'm going to do is leave those wefts a little bit longer, so when I sew the two wig pieces together I will have room to kind of overlap it and secure them so they don't shred out. You can see here, this is a better view. You can see how many I had to cut through with this wig to kind of get this piece cut off. So I'm going to be dealing with those after I finish splicing the wig together, because it's going to be a lot easier to do all the finishing work for this top blonde piece after I'm dealing with one wig. So going back to the bottom part of the wig, the Kyle, I have already taken out, apparently not gotten footage of me taking out all the double wefts, because at the very top of the undercut, Arta has a lot of double layers, and those tend to make the wig very poofy on the top of my head because I have a very narrow head, so I've already taken all of those out. I ended up being about an inch of wefts that I had to take out, so you can see here I've already started sewing a single layer of wefts back in. I'm going to go all the way around and sew all the way up, both to make the undercut on the Kyle higher and then also to make it less poofy so it looks better on my head. So a quick note here, if you are going to be doing something similar, working with the Kyle, and you want the undercut higher and redoing the wefts and stuff, make sure that you keep the curve of the wefts to the inside of the wig. Otherwise, it's going to look pretty weird. The Kyle specifically styled with those shorter wefts curved to be inside so that the hair will stay down and not spike up and show your wig cap underneath. So just make sure you're doing that if you're going to do something similar with a wig. So now for the actual splicing, exciting part of the tutorial. So what I like to do is to secure the two pieces of the wig together using just normal pins that I would use for sewing, and then you just stitch it together. I opted to use blonde thread because I didn't want the stitching to be visible at all through the blonde, and that's pretty much all there is to it. You just stitch around, stitch down, and secure it. So this is the first try on of the wig as a whole entire wig instead of two pieces, and I do have quite a bit of weft work yet to do, but overall I quite like how it looks. So this is the weft work that I need to do. I need to cover these holes with various colored wefts, and then I also need to fill in this little gap back here that I showed you earlier. So I'm currently working on that. I'm going to sew down a couple different wefts of the blonde. I am using pieces of the other wigs for that, and that's why you keep your scraps, right? So here I am sewing in some wefts to cover those gaps. So the first one I did was a blonde one sewn upwards so I can use it for spikes. And then right over that I did another short brown layer. This one again was sewn upwards, which might seem like a weird choice at first, but what I am going to do is I'm going to take my small flat iron and turn it down so that when I do that, the black part, I don't know, you want to call that the seam, but the sewn part of the wefts at the bottom won't show. You can see here how it's nice and crisp, and then when I have the hair spiked, you won't see any sewing lines or anything. So, and I've done this technique a couple different times for different various wigs, so this works pretty well. As you can see, that line's pretty clean there, so when I get the spikes all done, it'll look very nice. Now we get to move on to the ventilating the hairline, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So here I am trying on the wig. I kind of drew on the ventilation line. I like to use like the Crayola washable non-toxic markers because I can draw directly on the lace front of the wig, and as you see it transfers to my skin, which then I can wash it off and it's non-toxic, so I enjoy that. But then when I take the wig off, the line is also right there on the lace, so I have something that I can wash off the lace later after I've done it, and it's also a visual reference for where I need to fill in the hairline, so that helps me when I'm doing ventilation. Okay, so if you're like, alright CJ, that sounds great, but what the heck is ventilation? On a wig, that essentially means that you are taking individual strands of hair and using this hook, which will eventually come into focus there, and hooking individual strands of hair through the holes in the lace to create a new customized hairline. So right now I have a bunch of strands of hair all tied together. I'm going to be cutting them off that strip of stuff at the top, and then I'm going to be ventilating the individual hairs through the top of this lace that we can see here. And I like to do, for blonde hairs, I like to put a black cloth underneath so that I can see the lace a little bit better. It helps, and the hair, it tends to blend in when it's light. So I'm going to be filling in. I've already started. Wow, this video is very out of focus. Let me hold on, let me fix that. Okay, better. So you can see I've already started to fill in a little bit of the hairline, and I'm going to be filling in that entire patch around the area that I've marked. So moving forward in the video, I'm just going to kind of time skip through a couple different things. You can see this row that I'm pointing to here. This is one of the rows that I've already put in, and when I am ventilating, one thing I have found is you don't have to do every single hole. You can do every other. It makes it go a lot faster, and then it's a little bit less frustrating too. So in this clip you can see I've already started to add a little bit of a point, because Vash's hairline, when his hair is spiked up in Stampede, actually has a couple different points to his widow's peak, so that's what I'm doing here. I did not grab a finished shot of the fully ventilated hairline before I moved on to the next step, so I apologize, but just assume that I did it. Alright, looking at this here, and now I did actually miss filming a step of this. So I did crimp all the blonde hair with my crimpers. It's not really a hard step, but if you are looking to do a Vash wig, you'll definitely want to crimp anything you want to give volume to. And then I've already gone ahead and I've trimmed off the lace, the excess lace on this wig, and pinned down the hairline so I can start pulling the hair that's now all crimped upwards into the different various spikes for styling. And then here you can see I've already separated all the individual spikes that I want to create, and I've kind of just draped them over the back of the wig head for now, so I'm going to eventually flip them forward and start in the back and work my way forward, which is what I'm doing here. So these are the back spikes. My Vash wigs tend to have a lot of wave to them, which you can already see is kind of happening here. So essentially what I am doing to create these is I'm doing a little bit of ratting on the inside core of the spikes, and then I'm pulling hair that has not been ratted around them, and then I'm trimming it down, and I am doing hairspray. I like to use the Suave Hold 10 because it's pretty cheap, and I don't like the white residue that you can get from the Got2b if you overspray it. And then for the tips of the spikes, I am just using, again, my mini straightener, and I'm just getting a really sharp point there. So that's pretty much all there is to it. It's just a technique that takes a little bit of practice to get into. So here is the finished wig. Obviously sans makeup and stuff, but I'm very happy with it. I feel like it has a very Vash flavor to it. It's got my own personal spin on it, so I'm very happy with it. Here are a couple shots of it in action. Thank you for watching! I look forward to seeing all of your Grape Soda or Goth Vashes in the future. If there's something you have questions about, you can always hit me up on Instagram. I'll be happy to help. It's Chaotic Neutral Cosplay. I'm currently working on the kid version of Nye for a group with Kid Vash and Rem at a con coming up in the next couple months, so come cheer me on with that. And otherwise, like, follow, comment, subscribe, whatever the words are, you know the drill. It's YouTube, it's all the same. Like, just support me, you know, if you enjoyed it, support me. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I cannot wait to see all of your Vashes. Bye!